Hey everyone, it's Ms. Spencer. Today we're going to be reviewing decimal operations in order of operations. Today we have two objectives. First, students will be able to multiply and divide decimals to the thousands place. Next, students will also be able to evaluate written and numerical expressions. Let's start by multiplying decimals. Here we have 3 and 200ths times 1 and 4 tenths. The first thing we're going to do is rewrite each factor in unit form. So 3 and 200ths can be written as 300 200ths because the 2 is in the hundredths place, and 1 and 4 tenths can be rewritten as 14 tenths because the 4 is in the tenths place. Next, we're going to multiply the whole numbers. 302 times 14 is 4,228. Now we're going to multiply the place values. We have hundredths times tenths. One way we can do this is rewrite each of these in fraction form. So now we can multiply these fractions. To multiply fractions, we multiply the numerators, so 1 times 1 is 1, and we multiply the denominators, so 100 times 10 is 1,000. That means hundredths times tenths is 1,000. So 4,228 thousandths can be rewritten in standard form by putting the 8 in the thousandths place, pushing the 2 to the hundredths place, the other 2 to the tenths place, and the 4 in the ones place. The answer is 4 and 228 thousandths. This is a word problem. Justin plays video games for 1 and 7,500 hours every day. Tyler plays twice as long as Justin. How long does Tyler play video games for every day? Well, let's look at the information that's given to us. We know that Justin plays for 1 and 7,500 hours. Tyler plays for twice as long, which is multiplying by 2. So our equation is going to be 1 and 7,500 times 2. The first thing we're going to do is rewrite both these factors in unit form. 1 and 7,500 can be written as 175 because the 5 is in the hundredths place, and 2 can be rewritten as 2 ones because the 2 is in the ones place. Now we're going to multiply the whole numbers, 175 times 2, which is 350. Next, we're going to multiply the hundredths times the ones, which is the hundredths. Finally, we're going to rewrite this number in standard form. We have 350 hundredths, which can be rewritten as 3 and 50 hundredths. Notice the 0 is in the hundredths place. So Tyler plays video games for 3 and 50 hundredths or 3 and 5 tenths hours each day. This is 3.5 hours, so he's playing for 3 hours and 30 minutes every day. All right, now we're going to try another word problem. Emily is making beads out of clay on the weekend. She has 3 and 5/10 pounds of clay. Each bead will weigh pounds. How many beads can Emily make? Well, here she has a total of 3 and 5/10 pounds of clay. Each bead's going to weigh the same amount, which is 500 pounds. So when we're taking a total and sharing it evenly, we know we're dividing. 3 and 5/10 divided by 500. First thing we're going to do is rewrite each of these dividend and divisor in unit form. 3 and 5/10 can be rewritten as 35 tenths because the 5 is in the tenths place. 500 can be rewritten as 500 because the 5 is in the hundredths place. Now we're going to rewrite our dividend, which is our first number, so that it has the same place value as our divisor, which is hundredths. 35 tenths can be rewritten as 350 hundredths. Now we have both these numbers in hundredths, so we can divide our whole numbers. 350 divided by 5, which is 70, and hundredths divided by hundredths, which is ones. So our answer is 70. Emily can make 70 beads. Let's move on to order of operations. When we're dealing with order of operations, always remember GEMS. The G stands for grouping symbols like parentheses or brackets. The E stands for exponents like 10 to the power of 2. The M stands for multiplication and division. If there's both in the expression, go from left to right. The S stands for subtraction and addition. If there's both in the expression, go from left to right. Let's try evaluating the following expressions. Here we have 2 times the sum of 4 and 8 divided by 3. Let's start with grouping symbols. We see there's parentheses here, and 4 and 8 are inside the parentheses. So we're going to start by adding 4 plus 8, which is 12. That's why the 12 replaced the 4 plus 8. There's no more grouping symbols, so we're going to move on to exponents. There are no exponents, so we move on to multiplication and division. There's both in this expression, so we're going to start by going from left to right. 2 times 12 is 24. Now we can divide 24 divided by 3, which is 8. So the value of this expression is 8. Let's try another. 10 to the power of 2 minus the sum of 30 and 10 plus 20. Let's start with the grouping symbols. 30 plus 10 is inside the parentheses, so we're going to do that first. 30 plus 10 is 40. There's no more grouping symbols, so we're going to move on to exponents. We have here 10 to the power of 2, which equals 100, because 10 to the power of 2 is 10 times 10. There are no more exponents, so we're going to move on to multiplication and division. There's no multiplication or division, so we move on to the S for subtraction and addition. There is both in this expression, so we're going to go from left to right. 100 minus 40 is 60. Now we can add 60 plus 20, which is 80. The value of this expression is 80. All right, let's rewrite the written expressions as numerical expressions and then solve. We have here the difference between 26 and 5 tenths and 6 and 5 tenths times the sum of 3 and 4 tenths and 1 and 6 tenths. Well, the difference we know is the answer to a subtraction problem. In order to get an answer, we're going to have to put our numbers in parentheses so that we know to do that first. Times is multiplication, and the sum is the answer to an addition problem. So we know we need to put 3 and 4 tenths and 1 and 6 tenths in parentheses so that we get the answer before multiplying these two answers together. So we can rewrite this expression as 26 and 5 tenths minus 6 and 5 tenths, which is going to be in parentheses. And then we're going to be multiplying this answer times the answer of 3 and 4 tenths plus 1 and 6 tenths. Let's solve. Here we have two sets of grouping symbols. So we're going to start with the one furthest to the left, which is 26 and 5 tenths minus 6 and 5 tenths, which equals 20. Now we can do the second set of parentheses, 3 and 4 tenths plus 1 and 6 tenths, which is 5. There's no more grouping symbols and there's no exponents. So we're moving on to the M for multiplication and division. We see we have 20 times 5, which is 100. The value of this expression is 100. Let's do one more. Half the difference between 18 and 25 hundredths and 8 and 25 hundredths. Half means that we're dividing by 2. We can also multiply by 1/2, but I'm going to divide by 2 in this case. The difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. We need to get that answer first, so we're going to put 18 and 25 hundredths and 8 and 25 hundredths in parentheses. Let's rewrite this expression. The difference, so the answer to 18 and 25 hundredths minus 8 and 25 hundredths, and then we're going to find half of that answer, so we're going to divide by 2. We're going to start with the grouping symbols. 8 and 25 hundredths minus 8 and 25 hundredths is 10. There are no exponents, but there is division, so 10 divided by 2 is 5. The value of this expression is 5.